Very few knew anything about Ant-Man before he arrived in the MCU. He was a character that was often treated as a joke before that point. While he still isn't exactly on the level of Iron Man or Captain America, he's at least in on the joke now, his comics being some of the funniest around. While the movies certainly put a new spotlight on him, as well as on what a good character Scott Lang is, it didn't show all of his powers. There's still a lot in his arsenal that many don't know about. Many of which makes him more powerful than even he realizes. Can control all insects. Due to his name and the fact that in the movies, Ant-Man only ever interacted with ants, most people believe he can only control them. In the comic books, it is not the case. He has mastery over a wide range of insects, including spiders. As was the case in the 1960s, when he actually got control of a cockroach-like lifeform on another planet and persuaded it to fight for him. Sometimes this insect life isn't even from the Earth. Even though ants will always be his go-to weapon of choice, he also has a lot more options available. He can understand the ants. His interactions with his ants are far from one-sided. Scott and Hank are both able to communicate with and comprehend their ant friends. This is more of a kinship than Ant-Man forcibly bringing them into service. He can collaborate on plans with his ant brethren thanks to his helmet, and he has occasionally been shown to feel regret if one of them perishes. Above all things, that demonstrates how mutually beneficial this cooperation is. Dimensional jumping. The Avengers, Endgame and Ant-Man and the Wasp both made mention of this, although Ant-Man is capable of more than just traveling to the microverse. It's a realm that comic book Hank tried to find his lost wife Janet in. Instead, he found the daughter of the Collector and Perfect Realm to create a base for the Infinite Avengers, keeping him away from prying eyes. Comic book Hank attempted to look for his missing wife Janet there. Instead, he discovered the Collector's daughter and the ideal world to build the Infinite Avengers a base and shield him from inquisitive eyes. He can speak with cosmic entities. Not the typical Guardians of the Galaxy or someone like Captain Marvel are being discussed here. No, Ant-Man can communicate with some of the most powerful beings in the cosmos. This contains creatures like Eternity and the Living Tribunal. Ant-Man must go into the overspace, a realm above all realities that has never been visited by many beyond abstract cosmic entities, in order to accomplish this. The only way Ant-Man can do this is by employing PIM particles to expand to incredible heights and break the relative ceiling of the overspace. Voice amplification. When you're the size of a crumb, it can be hard for anybody to hear you, but Ant-Man's helmet allows him to enhance his voice so that it seems like he's still his usual size. This is necessary given how frequently he shrinks on the spot, especially during battle. If he could never interact with anyone during a conflict, he'd be one of the least useful Avengers ever. The same holds true for when he grows to the size of Giant Man, where his voice also returns to normal. Protective suit. The fundamental benefit of the suit is that it can help Ant-Man overcome the disadvantages of shrinking to such a small size. However, this is a little imprecise because it might apply to many different things. Tornado-proof, moments happen when and when the wind is blowing. To put it in a phrase additionally, it prevents him from being utterly destroyed if a blade of grass were to fall on him. The extra padding also helps him with less than stellar impacts, such as falling from a high distance. Wrist gauntlets. He is capable of firing tiny bioelectric blasts, albeit this is a technique in his arsenal that isn't commonly employed. Although the strength can be changed depending on the target, they are mostly merely employed to annoy an opponent rather than defeat them. It contributes to the sporadic nature of their usage. Along with the fact that they are much weaker than Wasp stings, given how frequently they collaborate, it makes sensible to let her manage that aspect of the situation. Great strength. Everyone is aware that Ant-Man can punch as hard as if he were his usual size. All of this contributes to the fact that his ability to shrink makes him both beneficial to allies and risky to enemies. What many people might not be aware of is that Scott Lang had a strength level of class 10 when using the Myrmidon alias. A few instances of such include the time he defeated the Thing with a single punch, something the Hulk himself does not frequently. Shrinking more than himself. This was vividly illustrated in Ant-Man and the Wasp when the scale of everything from Vans to Hello Kitty Pez dispensers changed. It encompasses more than just particulars. Entire laboratories can be downsized to his size, and Pym has scattered so many little laboratories over the area that he probably forgot about some of them. One of those laboratories was situated just inside the Ant-Man helmet, which was the one location he knew no one would ever search for it. Pyrokinetic. Scott briefly gained pyrokinesis akin to that of the Human Torch during a very brief period. His excessive exposure to Horton cells is what caused this. Horton cells were plastic and carbon polymer-based artificial human cells. While riding along with the aforementioned torch, Scott came into contact with them. The surge the cells provided was fleeting, but for a moment Scott gave the term fire ant a whole new meaning.